Midterm Assessment Bsit 3F. Assessment 1. Why is form handling and validation important in web development, particularly in terms of data integrity and security? The answer is for handling and validation are crucial in web development because they ensure data entered by users is correct and secure, preventing errors and protecting against potential security threats like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. This process helps maintain the data integrity, enhances user experience by providing immediate feedback, and safeguards the overall reliability and functionality of web application. Number 2 is, what are some key Laravel features that help prevent security vulnerabilities, such as SQL injection and cross-site requests for getting CSRF when handling form data? So the answer is Laravel prevents security vulnerabilities by using features like eloquent ORM for safe SQL queries, automatic CSRF token generation and validation for form submissions, and built-in input validation to ensure that data is clean and secure. These features collectively help protect against threats like SQL injection and CSRF attacks. Number 3 is, explain how you would create a basic form in Laravel using a bleed template and handle its submission in a controller. Include an example of how would you define validation rules. So the answer is, to create a basic form in Laravel, you would use a bleed template to define the form and then handle its submission in a controller. In the bleed template, you can use the form open URL submit form directive to start the form and include input fields. In your controller, use the request class to handle the form data and define the validation rules like request validate, name required max 225, email required email to ensure the submitted data meets your criteria. This approach ensures that data is validated before processing, maintaining data integrity and security. So number 4 is, how can customizing validation error messages improve the user experience in a web application? Provide an example of how would you customize display validation error messages in the Blade template. Customizing validation error messages can significantly enhance user experience by providing clear and specific feedback, helping users understand and correct mistakes quickly in a Blade template. You can customize and display these messages by modifying the validation rule messages in your controller, like this. Messages required, the attribute field is required. Request validate email required email messages in your Blade template. Use error email div message div at the end error to display the custom error message. This approach ensures users receive precise and helpful information when filling out forms. So number 5 is, what are the benefits of centralizing validation logic in Laravel application, and how does this contribute to the maintainability of a web application? So the answer is, centralizing validation logic in Laravel application enhances maintainability by ensuring all validations rules are defined in a single location, reducing redundancy and making it easier to update and manage rules consistency across the application. This approach improves code's reliability and reasonability as developers can quickly understand and apply validation rules from the central point. By centralizing this logic, it also simplifies debugging and future modifications, leading to a more organized and maintainable code base. Assessment 2. So the question number 1, what is the role of middleware in Laravel's authentication system, and how does it help protect routes and resources from authorized access? So the answer is, in Laravel middleware acts as a filter for HTTP requests entering your application, ensuring the only authenticated users can access certain routes and resources. By applying authentication middleware, you can easily protect routes from the unauthorized access, redirecting the authenticated users to a login page. This layer of protection helps maintain security and control over who can interact with the specific parts of your web application, making sure that the sensitive data and function remain secure. So number two is, how does Laravel built-in authentication system handle user registration and login, including the management of session tokens and the validation of input data? So the answer is, Laravel's built-in authentication system simplifies user registration and login by providing ready-made controllers and routes. It handles session token management by securely storing tokens to maintain user sessions, ensuring only authenticated user can access certain parts of the application. During the registration and login, it validates input data to ensure correctness, protecting against invalid or malicious data, and automatically handles hashing passwords for added security. This comprehensive approach ensures a smooth and secure authentication process. So we will proceed to the number three, that explain the importance of security measures like SQL injection prevention and XSS protection in login and registration forms. How does Laravel assist in preventing these vulnerabilities? So the answer is, security measures like SQL injection, prevention, and XSS protection are crucial in login and registration forms because they safeguard sensitive user data and protect the application from malicious attacks. Laravel assists in preventing these vulnerabilities by using eloquent ORM for safe SQL queries, automatic skipping of output to prevent XSS attacks, and built-in form validation to sanitize and validate user input. These features collectively ensures that user data is processed securely and application remains protected from common security threats. So number four is, how would you create and apply custom middleware in Laravel to restrict access to specific routes based on user roles, such as an admin-only route? To create custom middleware in Laravel for restricting access based on user roles, you use the PHP Artisan Make middleware check admin command to generate the middleware file. In this file, implement logic to check if the authenticated user has an admin role. Apply this middleware to your routes by adding it to the root middleware array in kernel. PHP using it in your routes like root group middleware check admin function. Admin routes here. This ensures that only users with the admin role and access the specified routes. So the number five is, in terms of scalability, how can Laravel authenticated system be adapted to handle a growing number of users and requests? Give an example like session management or token-based authentications. So Laravel's authentication system can be adapted for scalability by implementing token-based authentication, which is upload session management from the server to the client, reducing server load. By using Laravel Passport for API authentication, you can handle a high volume of request efficiency. Additionally, read-leveling release for session storage improves performance by quickly retrieving session data, ensuring the system can scale seamlessly with a growing user base. So, session management and how it works. So, after a user login in the server creates a session associated with that user, the session ID is stored on the server and a cookie is sent to the client's browser with the session ID. The server checks this ID on every request to authenticate the user. Example in web application, user login with username and password. Server validates credentials and creates a session, e.g. using PHP or Node.js sessions. Server stores the session's ID and sends into the browser as a cookie. Browser includes the session ID in every subsequent request header. Server validates the session ID to confirm the user's identity and grants access. Example in Code Express JS. So this is example of Code of JS that We're using cons express require express, cons session require. So we're using required to record that code. Express session, cons app express, app.use session, secret your secret key, receive false, save unilateralize true, cookie sure true. Then don't forget to app post the login, the request session under ID, and the recent login, and get dashboard rest session user ID. Then we're using app post again to the login request session ID again, then dashboard. Then that's all. So, what are the key steps involved in implementing the create operation in Laravel, and how a blade views and form handling play a role in this process? So the answer is, to implement the create operation in Laravel, you first define from a blade view to collect user input using the form open, stores directive next, handle the form submission in the controller method, where you validate the input using Laravel's validation rules like request validate name required max 2.5. After validation, you create a new instance of the relevant model and save the data to the database. Bleed views help by generating the form and displaying validation error messages, ensuring smooth user experience from the data input to storage. So number 2 is explain the importance of data validation and sanitization in CRUD operations. How does Laravel ensure security when handling user input during these operations? Data validation and sanitation in CRUD operations are crucial to ensure that the data entered by users is accurate, secure, and free from malicious content. Laravel ensures security by using built-in validation rules to check input data and sanitize it before processing. This prevents issues like SQL injections and cross-site scripting XSS attacks, ensuring that only clean and valid data is stored and processed in the application, maintaining data integrity and protecting against security vulnerabilities. So the number 3 is describe how you implement the read operation in Laravel to retrieve and display data from the database using both a controller method and a blade view. The answer is, to implement the read operation in Laravel, you create a method in a controller to fetch the data from the database using a Eloquent ORM. Like we're using users user all in the blade view, you loop through the data and display it using for each loop such as for each user as user trtd US name trtd in for each within each HTML table. This ensures that the data is created from the database and displayed dynamically in the view for users to see. So number 4 is, what is the purpose of the update operation in Laravel, and how will you handle form submissions to modify existing data introduced in the database? So the answer is, the update operation in Laravel allows you to modify existing data entries in the database to handle form submission for updates. First, retrieve the existing data in the form for the user to edit using a bleed template. Upon the form submission, use a controller method to validate the output and the output of the relevant model instance with the new data, such as user update request all. This ensures the database is updated with the latest user provided information while maintaining data integrity and security. So number 5 is, how can you ensure that the delete operation in Laravel is secure and prevents accidental or unauthorized data removal? What role does validation play in this process? So the answer is, to ensure secure and authorized deletion in Laravel, use middleware for authentication and authorization to confirm the user has the correct permissions. Additionally, implement root model blinding to validate the record before attempting to delete it. Using soft delete can help by marking record as deleted without permanently removing them, providing a safeguard against accidental deletion. Validation ensures that only legitimate deletion requests are processed, maintaining data security and integrity. So assessment 4. Number one is, what is the purpose of Google reCAPTCHA and how does it enhance the security of web application when integrated with forms? So the answer is, Google reCAPTCHA is designed to protect websites from the automated abuse like spam and bot attacks by distinguishing between human and automated access. When integrated with forms, it enhances security by adding an extra verifications layer ensuring that submissions are made by actual users and not malicious bots. This helps maintain integrity and security of the web application, reducing the risk of unwanted automated architectures. So number two is, describe the process of the maintaining of the registration reCAPTCHA, site and secret keys from Google. But it is important to update the domain when moving from a local host to a production environment. To obtain a register reCAPTCHA keys, go to the Google reCAPTCHA admin console, create a new site and copy the site key and the secret key. Updating the domain is crucial when moving from a local host to production to ensure reCAPTCHA recognizes the correct environment, preventing potential security risks and ensuring proper functionality. How will you integrate reCAPTCHA into Laravel form outline? It steps from installing the necessary package to adding to the reCAPTCHA field in the form. The answer is, to integrate the reCAPTCHA into Laravel form. First, install the reCAPTCHA package like Unschool Hobo, no captcha using Composer. Next, register the service provider in alias and config app PHP. Then add your reCAPTCHA site and secret keys to the inbuilt file in your blade. Template include the reCAPTCHA file using NapCAPTCHA display. Finally, validate the reCAPTCHA response in your controller with the rule like gReCAPTCHA response required CAPTCHA, ensuring the form submission is secure. So number 4 is, explain how to validate reCAPTCHA responses in Laravel. What role do the reCAPTCHA secret keys plays in this validation process? So the answer is, to validate reCAPTCHA responses in Laravel, you use the reCAPTCHA secret keys obtained from Google. When a user submits a form, the reCAPTCHA response is sent along with the form data in your controller. You verify this response using the secret key by sending a request to Google's reCAPTCHA verification endpoint. Laravel package like Unschool now reCAPTCHA simplify this by providing a validation rule such as reCAPTCHA response required CAPTCHA, which has user secret key to authenticate the user's response. This ensures that the submission of genuine and not generated by a bot. The secret key is crucial as it acts as a secure identifier for your application, allowing Google to verify the authenticity of the request. So number 5 is, how can customizing error messages for failed reCAPTCHA attempts improves user experience? Provide an example of how you would handle reCAPTCHA errors in Laravel controller. So the answer is, customizing error messages for failed reCAPTCHA attempts enhances user experience by providing very specific feedback, reducing frustration, and guiding users to correct their input in Laravel. Controller handle reCAPTCHA errors by setting custom messages in reCAPTCHA response that CAPTCHA. Please complete the reCAPTCHA to prove you are not a bot. Request of validate of reCAPTCHA requires required CAPTCHA message. This ensures users understand the reason for failure, can easily retry, improving the overall form submission process. So, we're using Facebook, we encountered this reCAPTCHA na please complete the reCAPTCHA to prove you're not a bot. So, minsan pinagpipili tayo ng pictures na select na lahat ng picture na may kasamang bike. So, part yun ng reCAPTCHA. Meron din yung part na sa password naman. May rumble letters doon na gulo-gulo. Ngayon, kailangan natin i-type yung proper arrangement doon kung ano talaga naka-type. So, that's a good example of reCAPTCHA. We'll proceed to the last part, that assessment number 5. So, number 1 is, what is the purpose integration OTP functionality into a Laravel application and how does it enhance security for users? So the answer is integrating OTP one-time password functionality into Laravel application adds an extra layer of security by requiring users to enter a unique code sent to the via SMS, email, or an authentication app in addition to their regular password. So ito yung mga good example na forget password ko na sa Facebook. So magsisend sila ng code via SMS or magsisend yun sa email mo for the verification na ikaw talaga yun or SIM mo talaga yun bago mapalitan yung additional to the regular password. So, this ensures that even if a password is compromised, authorized users cannot gain access without the OTP. Mark that significantly enhancing the security of user accounts and sensitive operations within the application. So the number 2 is describe the process of generating and sending an OTP via email in Laravel. One configuration steps are needed in the env file to set up email functionality. So the answer is to generate and send an OTP via email in Laravel. First, create a method to generate the OTP, the store in the database or session. Next, set up an email notification to send the OTP to the user email address using Laravel built-in mail class. Configure your env file with email setting like mail mailer, SMTP, mail host, mail report, mail username, mail password, and mail encryption. Finally, use a mailable class to design the email content and send to the OTP, ensuring users receive their unique code securely. This setup ensures smooth integration and reliable OTP delivery. So number 3 is explain how you can integrate an SMS OTP services using Twilio in Laravel. What configurations are required in the env file and the controller to send OTPs via SMS? So the answer is to integrate Twilio for SMS OTPs in Laravel. First, install the Twilio SDK via Composer. Then configure the .env file with your Twilio credentials, Twilio SD, Twilio token, Twilio phone number in your controller. Use the Twilio client to generate the send to the OTP Twilio new client. Invite Twilio seed. Env Twilio auto token Twilio message. Create user phone from Twilio phone number. Body your OTP. This setup ensures your application can securely send OTPs to users via SMS. So number 4 is how can you handle OTP verification in Laravel? Describe the process of validating the OTP and the necessary steps to handle success or failure on the verification. So the answer is to handle OTP verification in Laravel, start by capturing the OTP input from the user and composer and with the OTP stored in your database or session. In your controller, validate the OTP by checking if it matches and hasn't expired. If the OTP is correct, proceed with the desired action such as logging in the user or completing transaction. If the OTP is incorrect or expired, return on an error message promoting the users and try again. This process ensures that only authorized users can complete sensitive actions, enhancing security and user trust. So number 5 is what are some key customization options available when handling OTPs such as error messages or retry attempts, and how can this improve the user experience? So the answer is customizing OTP handling can greatly enhance user experience by tailoring error messages, allowing for a specified number of retry attempts and setting timeout for OTP validity. Clear specific error messages help users understand where their attempt failed, while offering retry options ensures they can quickly correct any mistakes without starting over. Setting a timeout for OTPs balances security and convenience by limiting the window for valid submissions, making the entire process user-friendly and secure. So that's all and thank you.